Right, everyone, shall we start? Well, so we were talking about the planning and then we completed that part. So then we started organizing the second step of the management process. And I gave you an introduction and gave you a brief idea about what we are going to discuss today. So today is all about the second step of management process, which is the organizing. Now you all know organizing is something in an organization in order to achieve the objectives and goals, because we know that in the planning process, what you're trying to do, planning process, you will be identify what are the needs, the goals and objectives that you want to achieve, right? So goals and objectives, and also how to achieve them. Saralava keyword, what to achieve, how to achieve, right? Correct. So you can see that fact. And when you come to the second step, organizing. Now, it doesn't make any sense when you have just a plan, right? You need to make sure that you work on this plan. So that is why the organizing help you. It's about, how you allocation, or you will identify the work to process. So the allocation of work and then authority and the resources. Correct. එහෙනම් අපේ මේ plan එකේ දේවල් achieve කරගන්න අපිට resource allocate කරන්න වෙනවා. We will have to identify what sort of tasks we have to perform, and then we need to give them the required power and authority in order to perform those tasks among the individuals in an organization. Because in an organization, it's not just a one individual. Organization is a collection of individuals who try to achieve a common goal. So that is how we have studied that in the lesson number 4, types of business organization. So remember the fact that, the allocation of work, authority, and the resources. Those are the main key things when you come to the process of organizing. Now for that, planning, we had a separate process for planning. It was a 9-step model. But when you come to organizing, you don't have such a long process to follow. But still, you have this process to follow. Let me start with the first one. Yes, you need to make sure that you recognize the tasks you need to achieve. It is really important that in order to achieve your goals and objectives, what sort of a task you need to perform. So that's first we need to identify them. Or the recognition of the task. Our goals and objectives achieve කරන්න අපි මොන වගේ වැඩද කරන්න ඕනේ. To be an accountant, to be an entrepreneur, to be a businessman. So if that your goals and objective, what sort of a task you have to perform, or else you need to identify. For example, maybe to become an entrepreneur, so reading books, articles, that helps a lot, especially reading and everything. So likewise, so make sure that you recognize the task you need to perform. So then only you will be able to achieve your goals and objectives. And coming to second part, the division of work. You know that, one individual, they don't have such a capacity to perform all the tasks. So then you will identify what to perform. For example, let's say task A, right? Task B, task C, task D, likewise. And then you will be division of work in the sense that you try to make sure if there are any similar type of work to allocate to individuals. For example, let's say when you're trying to produce a some apparel item. So you make sure that in order to achieve your goals and objectives, what sort of a task you have to perform. Maybe you have to purchase materials. So maybe the designing, cutting, sewing, and then packing and everything. For that, you are not try to allocate it to one particular individual. So you try to divide that work among the members, and based on that, you'll be having some departmentalization. So if we try to identify some same set of work, why don't you allocate that similar set of work to a separate team or unit? So where we call as a departmentalization. අපි සරල අදහසක් කියමු. නේද? මෙච්චර complex වෙන්නේ නැතුව. Now you have something to organize. You are in the organizing committee. So you are the chief organizer for an event. So what we trying to do in order to successfully conduct that particular event? Let's say something like a big match or something like a sports event, a commerce day competition, whatever an event, correct? Which relates to you. So then what you do, you will be recognizing the task in order to conduct a successful event. What sort of things we have to perform? For example, maybe there would be some entertainment item, or maybe you'll be distributing some awards, medals, certificates, right? So you'll be addressing the audience. There would be a welcome speech. So who will be perform that? The word of thanks. How we try to invite to a chief guest, the venue, everything. You need to make sure that you recognize what type of a task you have to perform in order to make sure that you successfully conduct that part. Correct. And then you'll be dividing that work, because you'll identify some similar tasks. For example, the medals, certificates, awards, similar set of work. Maybe something like creating a video, audio, sound controlling, and the mic, loudspeakers, setting up the multimedia projector. So you try to give it the same team. Or maybe food and beverage, right? Or the refreshments. So the most wanted team that you want to join, maybe. Right? So you allocate to that team, correct? Or maybe, welcoming the guest, coordinate with them, get the confirmation about their participant, and then invite the people. So you have a similar set of work, you'll be having a separate team. Sub-committees, the food committee, refreshment committee. So likewise, so you need to make sure that you perform like that. Correct. Now coming to the departmentalization. So that's sort of a example that I gave you, a simple example. But when you come to an organization, there are some bases. We can do what? We can do the departmentalization. So how we do the departmentalization is that there are some bases. For example, you can do the departmentalization something like this. Functional basis, right? Functional basis. For example, that is why you have like human resource management, marketing management, operations management, right? IT. So likewise, based on the functional areas of the management, you'll be having separate departments. Or maybe you might think of having departments in terms of geographical wise or area wise. For example, let's say marketing manager Western Province, marketing manager Southern Province, marketing manager Central Province, Western Province, something like that. Or maybe in an international company, the manager South Asian region, manager Asian and Pacific region, right? Manager North American region, something like that. So based on the geographical area, you can do the departmentalization. Or else maybe a process wise. For example, a company like Brandix company like Mars Holdings, they can maybe come up with the cutting department, designing department, sewing department, packing department. So likewise, based on the process. So there are a set of criteria where you can do the departmentalization, which will heavily depend on the nature of business that you are performing. Business එක. So there are, set of criteria. So you can pick one of them when you come to the your nature of the business. So you might, suits to your business. And then the delegation of authority and the responsibility. Yes, now it is not enough that you just provide them with the departmentalization, and you need to make sure that you set up the correct hierarchy, and who is the head of the department and who are the reporting subordinates to him. So what's the authority? authority decision ගන්න, resource use කරන්න, this set of thing. Right. So then we'll be giving the authority and the responsibility. Great. So when you have higher authority, that's a higher responsible as well. Departmentalization, well, the authority comes, you need to make sure that you do the responsibility as well. Correct. What else you have? Determining the standards of work. You need to make sure that in order to achieve the desired result, so all tasks perform as per the standards. So make sure that you achieve the quality. Again, both efficiency and effectiveness has to be achieved. So that is why you'll be determining the standards of work. Perform කරන වැඩවල standard එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. Or maybe how to achieve, when to achieve, or maybe there's a deadline, something like that. So every work that you perform, there's a standard. So that might vary with the organization to organization. For example, if you think about a good manufacturing company, so make sure that they all goods are identical and which consist of the same quality level. So in order to make sure that each work that you perform here should meet with the standards. And then finally will be allocation of the resources. Yes, you know that without having resources, you won't be able to achieve the goals and objectives. එහෙනම් දැන් අර අපි event එකක් ගැන කතා කරානේ. එහෙනම් ඒ event එකේ එක එක අයට එක එක වැඩ බාර දීලා තියෙනවානේ. එහෙනම් ඒව perform කරන්න resources අවශ්‍යයි. Example එකක් විදිහට අපි හිතමු video එකක් හදන කෙනෙක්ට නේද laptop එකක්, so required softwares, things like that, and a multimedia projector, or maybe the food and refreshment team to give some fun, right? Not fun, it's a fun, right? Give some fun where they can order in advance, make an advance payment to the suppliers in order to make sure that they place the order. So likewise, you need to provide them the resources. And also in an organization, yes, for the managers, employees, you need to provide them the resources, or maybe the computers, laptops, right? So whatever all are the equipments, or maybe even vehicle, accommodation, something like that. So in order to perform their work, they make sure that they provide them the resources. And finally, there should be a coordination. Why I'm telling like that? ඔයාගේ event එක success වෙයිද refreshments උත් හොඳට තියෙනවා, sounds උත් හොඳට වැඩ කරා, event එක තමයි එක තැනක certificates ටික නැහැ නේද? chief guest stage එකකට ඇවිල්ලා certificates දෙන්න යද්දි certificates ටික ඇවිල්ලා නැහැ වෙලාවට, නැත්තම් මදි වෙනවා නේද? කෙනෙක් stage එකට ඇවිල්ලා certificate එක නැහැ යාට දෙන්න. එහෙනම් the overall task, I would say the overall success of the event would be depend on the success of each work that you allocated. In this, I think එකක් හරි මිස් වුණොත් හිතන්න ඔක්කොම හොඳට වෙලා කැම මදි වුණොත් ආපු අයට දෙන්න refreshments අන්න එතනදී ප්‍රශ්නයක්. I think you are getting my point. The coordination is important. So where you try to coordinate all the tasks which makes sure that they will fulfill their job from their end. එහෙනම් chief guest ලට invite කරන අය, audience එක බලා ගන්න අය, invitations යවන අය, refreshments handle කරන අය, welcome speech, vote of thanks, certificates, awards, මේ හැම දෙනාම ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ job එක හරියට කරා නම් end of the day a successful event. So likewise, how the coordination matters. So let's say marketing manager is doing his job well, where he's trying to increase the demand and promote the product, but at the same time there's a shortage in the product supply, where the production manager is unable to fulfill the orders on time, so there's no coordination. And let's say the production manager has taken a decision to increase the capacity in terms of the production, but from the human resource point of view, they haven't recruited the new employees on time. So without having the labor resource, they won't be able to extend the capacity of the organization. So they might have to wait till others join. So there's no coordination. And let's say something like that. For the production manager, they have made all the requests to purchase new machineries. They have made sure that they have selected the correct machineries and everything. But there's a delay in terms of approving the funds from the accounting and finance department. So they haven't released the funds yet. So you are waiting. So there's no coordination. So I think you are getting my point. In order to successfully conduct or successfully achieve your overall objectives. දැන් එක department එකක් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ objective achieve කරා කියලා overall objective එක achieve වෙන්න නම් coordination එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. So that is why the coordination matters here. Correct. So these are the set of organizing process, and there are some other key concepts where we use in the organizing process. අපි ඒ ගැන one by one කතා කරනවා. Correct. I hope you are clear with the points that I discussed up to this step. So what I want you to do is, before we coming to the, I would say to the TUTE, will you be able to, okay, I think we can straight away come to the TUTE, I guess, right? Shall we take the organizing process, please? Which is the page number 2 of the organizing TUTE. I'm not exactly sure whether I asked you to complete that on the previous day. But anyway, I'm sharing the TUTE so you can see the process of organizing. So shall we all complete this part? So you have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 steps. Remember, planning process consists of 9 steps. Now here, 7 steps. Right? Can you all complete the organizing process? So then we can discuss one by one. We taking a step එක අරගෙන discuss කරන්න පුළුවන්. So first you have recognizing of the task. එනවා මුලින්ම කරන්න ඕනේ මොන වගේ වැඩද අපිට කරන්න තියෙන්නේ. So we'll identify the work in order to perform. And then division of work. එහෙනම් ඒ වැඩ ටික අපිට පුළුවන් divide කරන්න. Departmentalization එකේදී similar work තියෙනවා නම් අපිට ඒක එක units වලට teams වලට බෙදන්න පුළුවන්. And the delegation of authority and responsibility නම් එක team එකට ඒකේ ඉන්න heads ලට අපි authority එකක් දෙනවා, ඒගොල්ලන්ට responsibility එකක් දෙනවා. Now the marketing manager responsible for the number of sales to increase the sales. Human resource manager responsible for managing the human resource of the organization. Finance and accounting prepare the financial statements and communicate the financial information to the stakeholders. So likewise, each team consists of separate responsibilities, and there's a standard for work for everything because it's really easy when everyone follows the standards. And then yes, allocation of resources, and finally coordination. එනම් මේ හැම department එකක්ම team එකක්ම coordinate වුණොත් තමයි end goal එක achieve වෙන්නේ. එහෙම නැතුව එක team එකක් විතරක් නෙවෙයි. It's like I would say it's like some sort of a sports event. Example like අපි cricket match එකක් ගත්තොත් batsman ලා bat කරගෙන හොඳට perform කරත් වැඩක් නැහැ. Fielding එකේදී bowling එකේදී ඒකේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ අනිත් අයගේ effort එක දෙන්නේ නැත්තම් නේද? bowlers ලා කොච්චර හොඳට bowl කරත් fielding සහ batting ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. අන්න එතනත් overall objective එක achieve වෙන්නේ නැහැ. maybe එක එක්කෙනාගේ records අලුත් කරයි, world records තියයි. නේද? individually ඒගොල්ලෝ achieve කරයි, but as a team ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ loss එකක් තියෙනවා. So they won't be able to successfully complete. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ තමයි when you come to an organization. That is one of the reason that when organization hire people, that's why they ask for whether you have done any sports, whether you have engaged with any, committee activities, some sort of extracurricular activities, because you might wonder there's no relationship with the work and those stuff, right? But the attitude, but the ability to work as a team. So that's what matters, in terms of working for an organization. It's all about the teamwork and team spirit. Correct. Good. I hope you're done with that. Shall we go step by step and then to provide you a better understanding about the one? Correct. Yeah, as you can see, organizing essentially consists of identifying of work, establishing the division of labor. The managers divide the work among the individuals and group of individuals, and then they coordinate the activities of such individuals and groups to extract the best outcome. So in order to get the best outcome, they need to make sure that they coordinate all the activities. Organizing also involves delegating responsibility to the employers among with the authority to successfully accomplish these tasks and the responsibilities. So one major aspect of organizing is delegating the correct amount of responsibility and authority. As one of the most important functions of the management, organizing follows, following this meticulous process, very important. The following are steps in the process of organizing, right? Now here, when you go with the one by one, first one, recognizing the tasks. You can highlight the important areas. So more listening, more discussions, and less writing. So you have to listen carefully and highlight the most important areas. Sometimes I have, mentioned those in the bold color as well. But we'll try to identify the important areas. The first step here, a very important point. The first step to be done in organizing is the identification of functions to be performed and job designing to achieve the goals. So here it says a great message to you all activities needing to be performed must be identified. සමහරවිට අපිට මෙහෙම දෙයක් වෙනවා. So sometimes we haven't identified that task which we need to perform. So then there's no point that we achieving that task. So make sure that what sort of activities to be performed must be identified. With identify කරොත් තමයි මම වෙනුවෙන් වැඩ කරන්නේ. This is the ground level from which we will begin. So the manager needs to identify the work and the tasks to be done to achieve the goals of the organization. And identification of the work helps to avoid miscommunication, overlapping of responsibilities, and wastage of time and the effort. So you make sure that you recognize all the tasks you need to achieve here. And then you need to make sure that you divide the work among the individuals. So they're dividing the total workload into small and simple tasks. අපි main example එකක් ගමු සරලව. That you might think of that I think you all are studying accounting or maybe most of you. දැන් මෙහෙම දෙයක් හිතන්න. Right, for example, if you try to think in a manner where we are thinking about preparation of the financial statements. Financial statements make it in ඔක්කොම items එක්කෙනෙක්ට හදන්න දුන්නොත් what do you think? It consumes a lot of time. Instead of that, or maybe you can give that function, for example, let's say a balance sheet to take care of the non-current asset. And there's a position called the person who handling the fixed assets register. So that person is in charge of handling the non-current asset, how to depreciate them, how to identify the correct the lifetime of those assets, the useful lifetime. So likewise, he is responsible for the non-current asset. And maybe there's another person who will take care of the debtors handling. Right? Or maybe there's a separate person for cash, obviously, right? The petty cashier kila inna. So likewise, you need to make sure that all the tasks that we divide among the members, that you try to break into simple tasks. So then everyone, so that's what the coordination matters as well, in order to coordinate these simple tasks as well as to coordinate the department work together. Correct. So make sure that the simple tasks, so dividing the total work into small and simple set of tasks. So the division of work, in other words, conducting the division of work. දැන් අපි දන්න දෙයක් තමයි product එකක් හදද්දී උනත් total product එක කවුරුත් final එක හදන්නේ නැහැ නේද? අපි ගත්තොත් apparel item එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, vehicle production එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, mobile phone එකක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකේ එක කොටසක් විතරයි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට employee කෙනෙක් හදන්නේ. So that's why the total workload එක you divide into small and simple tasks. So then what happened? Division of works leads towards the job specialization. Now the person who handled the petty cash book, the person who handled the main cash book, the person who handled the non-current asset register, the person who were working with the calculation of the cost of sales. Now he's an expert in that particular area. Because why? Because of day-to-day basis, he'll be involving with that task only. Correct. So in that manner, you can see the division of work will lead to a specialization. In specialization, යාගේ efficiency වැඩි වෙනවා. අනිත්යට වඩා ඉක්මනට යාට ඒ වැඩේ කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා with the minimum time and the minimum resources. So he know all the shortcuts. As the time passes, he will gain the experience. So that's how it works for the overall objective of the business, because the overall cost saving would be there when there's a specialization. So remember the fact that as a result of the division of work, make up lesson number 1 එකේ කතා කරේ division of labor කියන එක නේද? Division of labor. හැබැයි මෙතනදී අපි කියන්නේ division of work because the work is performed by the laborers or the employees, the labor resource. Yes, so the division of work will leads to what? To a specialization. Specialization. Good. Right. Right. තවත් දෙයක් කරමු අපි example එකක් විදිහට let's say coming to accounting නේ accounting වල ගත්තත් අපි financial accounting කියලා divide කරනවා management accounting taxation maybe financial advisory consulting things like that ඊට පස්සේ ඒකම තව part එකක් auditing විදිහට බෙදෙනවා නේද auditing එකක් internal audit external audit compliance so likewise so the bigger picture you try to come up with some simple and small tasks where you can enjoy the benefits of the specialization. Good. With that, so still we are on the second step. The process of focusing one's occupational concentration on a specific area of expertise and increase in job specialization among employees can make them less flexible. Make it a disadvantage that they would be less flexible. They do not know anything about management accounting because they were only working with the financial accounting. So maybe when they move to their job, or maybe want to join another organization to take an opportunity, that would be a disadvantage as well. So that's what the less flexibility is there. Since it tends to reduce their ability to perform other type of work within the business that fall outside their particular specialty. Regular scope sometimes they are not in a position to provide a correct answer because they were heavily specialized on a specific area. So that's what there are advantages as well as disadvantages in job specialization. මේක අපි lesson number 1 එකේදී පැහැදිලිව කතා කරලා තියෙන what are the set of advantages and disadvantages of the job specialization. Correct. Now coming to the third step, departmentalization. Right. Let me show you this interesting video when it comes to the job specialization. I think you might have seen this as well. This is a funny clip by Charlie Chaplin, but even though it looks funny, it's provided inner message to the employers in these days. Let me see that whether I could share that to you. best part is he cannot just avoid doing that. So even though you can see so the message is, guys, even though he's out of the work, so he cannot just stop doing that part. So that's what one of the drawbacks I would say in terms of the specialization. But there's a lot of stress, and sometimes it's not really help for your I would say the professional development. When there's a high specialization, especially when it comes to the labor-oriented employees, the job specialization will lead to a different set of disadvantages in terms of the employee's point of view. But for the employee's point of view, I would say there are the cost-saving benefits. But at the same time, they might have to face some labor turnover as well. So because they might have resigning because just just following the same task every day, might impact for their work as well. So yes, definitely they have this the pros and cons of this specialization. And the departmentalization, yes, the process of grouping of the jobs using the common features of the task of an organization is meant by the departmentalization. For the sake of smooth flow of the work and smooth functioning of the organization, similar tasks and activities should be grouped together. So that's what it really helps. For example, what will happen when in terms of recruiting an employee, if, for example, when the accounting department wants to recruit employee, they do the contacts and they recruit. Maybe the marketing, they recruit. For the IT, they recruit. So then it might provide some sort of consequences where there's no standard process. So that is why in order to perform that, the HR is there. So likewise, that similar set of tasks will be grouped together or you identify, so then come up with the team that you try to divide as teams, or what you know as a departmentalization. So here there are some bases of departmentalization. So let me just focus you with one by one. Correct. Shall we write this part, the basis of departmentalization? So then we can come up with some basis. So where we can practice, but that also depend on the nature of the business. So where we make sure the fact that we provide the best suitable departmentalization for those work. Right. Now the first step, I would say you will be able to divide based on the functional area. I would say functional basis. Functional basis. This is all you know. This is in terms of the management areas, right? Based on the management functions. And then you can come up with the product basis. Product basis. So let's first complete this. I'll come one by one. So I'll discuss that part. And then you can come up with consumer basis. Consumer basis. And this is what I explained. Geographical basis or area wise, right? Geographical basis. and maybe sometime process basis, and mixed basis, This is something extra, just cut it off. So those are the 6 bases when you come to the departmentalization. Can you all complete this small chart? So then I'll come with the first one, which is the functional basis, and then product basis, and consumer basis, and so on. Right. So something like a functional basis, where I would say based on the functional area. So here you have, I would say, finance department. Right. If you further go into the hierarchy, okay, so I'm not going to go to the hierarchies because that part will be discussed. Okay, so you have finance, you have human resources, you have marketing, or maybe you have IT department, or you'll be having production department. Right, will you be able to take this chart? So this is based on the functional areas. එහෙනම් ෆයිනෑන්ස් වල HR එක කරන්න යන්නෙත් නැහැ, HR වල ෆයිනෑන්ස් කරන්න අය කරන්න යන්නෙත් නැහැ. මාකටිං වල මාකටිං අය කරන IT වල IT. So likewise you see the functional areas. So if you try to come up with the next one, which is the product basis, මෙන්න මේ විදිහට එන්න පුළුවන්. අපි example එකක් ගමු. What's the example? Samsung company, Samsung, a good example. So Samsung might think of dividing their organization departments based on the product. For example, they do have Samsung mobile phones. So Samsung mobile phones, right? Or maybe here Samsung tablets, right? Or maybe Samsung electricals. So Samsung electricals means apart from the mobile phones and tabs, you have like Samsung TVs, refrigerators, washing machine, the electronic appliances. Or maybe they do have another set of things. They do have Samsung, let's say, another product apart from the producing mobile phone tabs and okay, let's say computers or laptops, right? So based on the product, they try to divide mobile phone tabs. And maybe there's a separate head for those as well, who head the mobile phone division, who lead the tabs division, electric appliance division. So that's their basis based on the product. Tawat example like ගන්න company like Toyota නේද? Toyota එකේ product මත Toyota cars වෙන්න පුළුවන්, ඊට පස්සේ මෙතන SUVs, ඊට පස්සේ Toyota buses, cabs මේ වගේ product type එක අනුව ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ company එක divide කරන්න පුළුවන්. So that's what. Or maybe company like Apple, the same thing. Apple phones, iPads, then laptops, and rest of the electronic equipment. So likewise, based on the product, they try to do the departmentalization based on the product. And also in Sri Lanka, I would say a company like Unilever, they are doing so based on the product. Based on the product, they try to divide their organization. So the basis is the product basis. So if you could come up with some example, that's better. That's way better. Next one, based on the consumer basis, right? Based on the consumer. What do you think about an apparel manufacturing company, right? Where they focus on, they try to divide on the basis of the consumer. For example, kids products, right? Kids wear. Then for teens, right? Teenager section. Or maybe like, so then men's in the sense like adults. So then they have the ladies section. Or maybe focusing on some office employees, focusing on formal suits. Correct? For office workers, like shirts, trousers, ties, everything. So based on the consumer, which is comes under this one. So based on the consumer, so you have this organization. And let me tell you this another example. Something like a bank වලත් ඒගොල්ලෝ department කරන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට based on the consumer. Naming as the retail banking and the corporate banking. Retail banking කියන්නේ individuals persons ලාට ඒ කියන්නේ තනි පුද්ගලයන්ට කොහොමද banking service අපි වගේ අය. Right? ඒ කියන්නේ account එකක් open කරන්න, deposit කරන්න, transfer කරන්න, check එකක් issue කරන්න, something like that. So we are retail market. අනිත් පැත්තෙන් corporate banking කියන්නේ කොහොමද තවත් company එකකට banking service එකක් දෙන්නේ. Correct? Something like that. So here my example is a clothing manufacturing company, an apparel company. So where they have kids section, foods section for teenagers, for men, for ladies, for office workers. So based on the consumer, based on the consumer. And then you can move to the based on the geographical area. So I'll come to here. Yes, geographical area. කොහොමද අපි geographical area බෙදන්නේ? ලංකාවේ අපිට ඕන නම් බෙදන්න පුළුවන් company එකක් provincial wise නැත්නම් district wise, right? For example, western region, southern region, right? Central, northeast, north, something like that. Or maybe state wise නේද ලංකාවේ නම් states නැහැ states නැත්නම් ප්‍රාන්ත විදියට බෙදන්න පුළුවන් district wise provincials එහෙම නැත්නම් regional wise South Asian region, Southeast Asian region, Middle East, Europe, America නේද America, North America, South America, Asia and Pacific including Australia and New Zealand. So likewise you try to come up with some geographical areas. You do the departmentalization. So let's say sales manager Asia Pacific region. එහෙම තමයි ගොඩක් multinational companies වල regional wise යම් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට. ඒතකොට ඒ manager responsible වෙනවා Asia and Pacific operation, Asian countries including Australia and New Zealand, something like that. Or maybe marketing manager in terms of the European region. So the Europe countries wala in operation. Maybe manager South Asia, including India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, those countries. So he'll be in charge of that. So likewise, when you come to the global companies, they have such a departmentalization based on the geographical area. And then what do you think about process basis? Production process එක මත order පුළුවන් department බෙදන්න. මේක හොඳම example එක තමයි manufacturing companies. Manufacturing companies. අපි හිතමු මේ වගේ දෙයක් apparel company එකක නේද? මුලින්ම design කරන මොනවද කරන්න කියලා, right? Designing team එක. So then design කරපු එක cutting department. So designing, cutting, then you have sewing, then you have packing. So likewise, based on the process, අපි ද මොනාරි දම්රෝ වගේ company එකකුත් පුළුවන් process basis යන්න. So maybe company like Brandix, or maybe company like Damro. නේද? ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ තියෙනවානේ furniture එකක් හැදෙන එකක් නේද? ලීබට් එක තියෙනවා, ඒක polish කරන්න කලින් design එක හදනවා. So likewise, you need to make sure that you do that. So that's based on the process basis. Process basis එක මත you make sure that you do the departmentalization. Right, so are we clear on the process basis? So based on the department, based on the organization, the manufacturing process, you try to make sure that you do that. So now what do you think about this mixed basis? Mixed basis කියන්නේ අපි practically මේ විදියට process wise එහෙම නැත්නම් geographical wise use කරා අපිට පුළුවන් මේ වගේ basis කිහිපයක් mix කරලා හදා ගන්න. example එකක් විතර මෙන්න මේ වගේ දෙයක්. Now how do you mix the let's say you can mix the functional basis and geographical basis. Functional basis. So I'm giving an example. Functional basis එකට එකතු කරන්න පුළුවන් මොකක්ද? Geographical basis එක. Let me come up with this example. හරි මේ බලන්න. මෙතන මම already දාලා තියෙනවා නේද? මේ බලන්න. Western province නේ. Geographical plus functional. Aina Western province finance manager කෙනෙක් වෙනම ඉන්නවා. නැත්නම් finance department එක. Western province marketing manager. Western province production manager. Production manager කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවා කියන්නේ production department එකක් තියෙනවා කියන එක. හරිද? ඒ විදිහට බලන්න මෙතන mix එකක් තියෙනවා. So functional basis එකත් එක්ක geographical basis mix කරන්න පුළුවන්. Right? තව මොනවද අපිට mix කරන්න පුළුවන්? අපිට පුළුවන් consumer basis එකත් එක්ක functional basis mix කරන්න. Kids section. So marketing manager kids section. HR manager kids section. In the sense the product. Right? So we have this consumer group. So that is how when we come to the mixed basis එහෙනම් මේ functional areas වෙන්න පුළුවන් එහෙම නැත්නම් මොකක් හරි basis දෙකක් එකට අරගෙන අපිට පුළුවන් නම් mix කරන්න mix කරලා departmentalization එකක් හදන්න. So then that's what we call as the mixed basis එක. So shall we write this example? You have the geographical area and under that you have the functional area. ඒත් එකම ආඩ පුළුවන් ඕනනම් මෙතන consumer basis එකට functional basis mix කරන්න පුළුවන්. So whatever the combination, it consists of two criteria. So that's what we make sure we come up with the mixed basis. Right. Now are we clear about up to the step number 3, up to the departmentalization, and we were talking about the basis of departmentalization or the criteria that you can use in terms of dividing into teams or units. දැන් මේක department කියන වචනේ නම් දැන් එච්චරම use කරන්නේ නැහැ modern organizations වල. දැන් කියන්නේ team කියලා නේද? teams නැත්නම් units. අපිට අපිලාට HR team, marketing team නේද? team කියන වචනේ use කරන අර departmentalized kind of like traditional word එකක් වගේ තමයි අපි ඒක දැන් consider කරන්නේ. දැන් කියන්නේ HR team එක, finance team එක. So we were the use team, but that also means the same as departmentalization. Correct. Shall we move to the fourth one? හරි බලමු මොනවද ඔයාලට explain කරන්න කියලා fourth step එකේදී. delegation of authority and responsibility. Now, all that maybe theater departmentalization එකක් කරලා ඒකේ ඉන්න අයට authority එක ලබා දෙන්න ඕනේ මේ වැඩ ටික කරන්න. So you need to provide them the authority and the responsibility. The right to perform many functions, to command or distribute resources is known as the authority. ඊළඟට යම් කිසි authority එකක් නැත්නම් බලයක් ලබා දෙන්න වෙනවා මේ වැඩ ටික කරන්න. එනම් HR manager, marketing manager, resources සහ මේ formal authority එක ලබා දුන්නොත් විතරයි they'll be able to command and get the work done through other people. So authority is basically the right an individual has to act according to his wishes and extract the obedience from the others. So when a manager is assigned certain duties and responsibilities, he must also delegate that authority to carry out such duties effectively. Delegation, you need to make sure they have the required authority. So if we only assign the duties but no authority, what will happen? He will not be able to perform the task and the activities that are necessary. So we must always assign authority and clearly specify the boundaries of the duties and the authority which has been delegated. A legitimateness is there to be seen the authority for various posts. Among other सरल example එකක් කියන්න. අපි authority ගැන මේ lesson එකේම කතා කරනවා leadership authority ගැන and power. දැන් පාරේ යද්දී මම සරල ප්‍රශ්නයක් අහන්නේ. Traffic police එකෙන් අත දානවා right? ආව නවත්තන්න හදනවා. එතකොට ඇයිවා ඒක why you gonna stop right? Your vehicle or your bike or whatever, because that particular police officer has the authority to do so because of the formal authority, the legitimate authority, not because they are like you see them as Superman or they don't have like such a superpowers. They all are like all human like us. So, but the formal authority have been given to them to perform their duties. So if you do not obedience their command, so they might take the actions against you because the law provides such to do so. So that's how they get the power. So just one simple example. So likewise in an organization also you need to make sure that for those managers, for those top positions that you provide the authority so where they can perform their tasks without any difficulty. අපි මේ ගැන කතා කරන authority lesson එකට ආවට පස්සේ because in the this particular section we have a separate subtopic and then you will determine the standards of work as the fifth step. Let's see, explaining of what, how and when which are relevant to working procedure is known as the standardization of the work. What to perform, how to perform, when to perform, which to perform. So likewise, there are a set of standards. Why? Ensure that all work is done according to the current best practices. Simplifies and speeds training and onboarding, improves the quality and increase the customer satisfaction. So for different customers, they cannot be treated in different ways. Every customer has to be treated in the same manner. So then only you improve the quality. If a customer connect treat කරන විදිය අනිත් treat කරන විදිය වෙනසක් වෙන්න බෑ. For example, a call center. In a call center එකකට ඔයා call කරලා customer service එකක් ගද්දී ඔයාත් එක්කම තවත් similar කෙනෙක්ගේ call එකක් එනවා නම් මේ දෙන්නටම එක විදියට treat කරන්න. So that's what you maintain the standard. So then only the quality will improve. So make sure that each work consists of the standards, so which will improve the quality and increase the customer satisfaction. And also it reduces the defects and the waste, makes results predictable and measurable. Now for you to tell something about this, reduces defects and waste. Can you remember that we discussed standards in the lesson number 3. අපි කිව්වා standard එකක් තිබුණොත් wastage එක අඩු වෙනවා, resource wastage එක අඩු වෙනවා කියලා. Because while the standard has been I would say set up by the expert in order to reduce the time by utilizing the minimum resources. So when everyone is following the standard, there will be a cost saving as well. So make sure the work you perform have the required standards. So then only will we make sure the quality is achieved. Okay. And then මේ ඔක්කොම තිබුණත් වැඩක් නැහැ. වාට resource නැත්තම් වාට මේ job එක කරගෙන යන්න බෑ. So make sure that you provide the resources. So allocation of the resources, the provision of required resources in required quantities at required times to perform the functions of an organization is meant by the allocation of resources. එනම් resource ටික මේ බලන්න, right resources, right time to right place. Right? එනම් resources අඩුවෙන් දීලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ, resources වැඩියෙන් දීලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. So you need to make sure that you are getting the correct amount in terms of the quality. Just give me 1 second. Right, so talking about the resources, resource hari quantity එකෙන් hari quality එකෙන් වෙලාවට ලැබෙන්න අවශ්‍ය අවස්ථ ස්ථානයට resource පරක්කු වෙලා ලැබුණොත් ඔයාලට වැඩ කිප කරන්න වෙන, so there would be a delay or idle time. What do you mean by an idle time? So where the employees, managers are waiting to get the resources, so they cannot perform the work until with those. For example, the material is not available on time. In our machineries, ඊට පස්සේ stuck, right? Yes. Give me
Phil, I think previously it was not connected to audio, right? Okay, I think now only you guys can hear me. Correct. Uh, right. So resources, yes, we need to make sure that as an organization, we provide the required resources to the employees where they can perform their work. Otherwise, they would be idling. What I mean by idling is that just because they don't have the resources, they cannot perform the work. For example, අපි හිතුව මේ දවස්වල මම හිතන අර නිවුස් වලත් ගියා මේ අර ගෑස් ප්‍රශ්න නිසා ගෑස් හිඟ නිසා සමහර හොටල්ස් වහලා දාලා තියෙනවා නේද ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ වැඩ ටික කරගෙන යන්න බෑ එහෙනම් එතන idle time එකක් they're not in a position to continue their work because of the lack of resources. So something like that. So such a loss to the businesses. So that's what we talk here, right? Next part is the coordination. Yes, the process of integrating the work and the objectives in separate units in order to achieve the goals and organization efficient is mean by the coordination. Yes, so we need to make sure that we well coordinated. So mama explain kara විදිහටම මේක මේ one man show එකක්වත් Right, I'm really sorry, guys. Again, I got disconnected. I don't know why this is happening continuously. Right. So I was talking about the coordination. So how, what's the importance in terms of this part? Can you all please highlight the ultimate aim is to ensure the goal of the organization is fulfilled. In this අන්තිමට අපි බලන්න ඕනේ ටීම් එකක් විදිහට මැච් එක දිනනවද නැද්ද කියන එක. ඒකනේ බලන්න දැන් එක්සැම්පල් එකක් විදිහට අපි හිතමු ෆයිනල් මැච් එකකදී ටීම් එකේ එක්කෙනෙක් 100ක් ගහනවා නැත්නම් හැට්‍රික් එකක් ගන්නවා. හැබැයි ටීම් එක පරාදයි නම් අපි මැච් එක පරාදයි. So which means as an organization, we have not achieved our thing. So that's what the coordination matters. So remember the fact that, and also please do highlight this part. The ultimate aim is to ensure that the goal of the organization is fulfilled. Right. So guys, let's quickly come to the importance of organizing as well. I'll finish that part as well because next session we can start the key concepts in organizing process. Right. Shall we write our first point in terms of the organizing the importance? I'll at the same time I'll be explaining the concept as well. So the first point, it assists in achieving the goals and objectives of an organization. Yes, so when there's a proper organizing, and හැම දෙයක්ම well organized. දැන් example එකක් විදිහට අපි කියන අපි trip එකක් ගියත් අපි මොනාරි event එකක් කරත් ඒක well organized නම්, so you'll be able to achieve the goals and objectives of doing that. So we need to make sure we are well organized. And second one, it being a base to implement the plan successfully. Yes, එහෙනම් plan එක විතරක් නේද report එකක් විදියට තියාගෙන අපි ළඟ ඉඳලා හරියක් නැහැ. In order to implement it, we need to make sure that we do the proper organizing and also ability to improve the productivity, because why something like job specialization comes up with the division of work. As if you do remember the organizing the process, I described the fact that the job specialization. So because of that, there's a productivity improvement in terms of cost saving, efficiency, productivity increases. So which is a good thing for the organization. So shall we first complete the first 3 points? Then I'll come to the rest of the points as well. So we are talking about the importance of organizing. Make it thing kata karana topic එකක් නෙමෙයි. If you do remember the process, you might come up with some points. The importance of organizing. Why we need to do the organizing. අයි අපිට organizing කරන්න වෙන්නේ? It will assist in achieving our goals. And it will base to implement the plan successfully. It doesn't make anything, if you keep your plan as it is, you need to make sure that you organize as per the plan. You need to make sure you organize as per the plan. And also the specialty, something like the job specialization. So then there would be a division of work as well. Right. So let me give like another 1 minute for this. Point number 4, ability to get the works relevant to the post done successfully through the delegation of authority and the responsibilities. Yes, because we are here talking about the process, the organizing process. Describe the fact that you do some allocation of the authority and the responsibility. So then you know who is responsible for each task, each activity. So then you can get the justification. So they will have justify when they are non-performing of those tasks. So then you will be able to get the work done from the relevant party successfully, because each one එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි කියන්නේ එක එකනා අර බෝලේ පාස් කරනවා කියලා, the meaning of බෝලේ පාස් කරනවා, what do you mean by that? නෑ මම නෙමෙයි, මම දන්නේ මෙයා තමයි ඒක කරන්නේ, එයා කියන අනිත් එක්කෙනා කියලා. But clearly now you have a hierarchy, you have the authority and you have the responsibility. So with the non-fulfillment of those, you know the exact person to contact and ask for the reason and get it done somehow. And the fifth point describe the fact that ability to get the maximum use of the resources through allocating resources required to perform the functions. So you will be allocating only the resources that is required to perform that task. So there's no resource wastage or resource, I would say, idle time, or a resource, the duplication of the resources or overlapping the responsibilities, right? So that we make sure, because something like a resource is pretty much limited, and the limited resource is always a cost to the company, right? If you are purchasing materials, there's a wastage, that would be a disadvantage, or in terms of the cost will increase. So we are effectively how you try to, allocate those resources. And finally, a coordination is created among individuals, among the groups, among the departments, since directing all organization towards its goals. So remember the guys, coordination. Now let me again explain you. Coordination කියන එක department coordinate වෙන්න ඕනේ, department වල ඇතුළේ coordinate වෙන්න ඕනේ. එහෙනම් individual coordination එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ work කරද්දි, වැඩ කරද්දි. So individual coordination එක team coordination එකක්, department coordination එක, and then finally interdepartment connect වෙනවා. දැන් අපි හිතමු marketing production department එකට තියෙන වැඩ ටික ඒකෙත් ඉන්න individuals ලා එකට coordinate වෙනවා, right? So something like that, they do perform their set of tasks. So will you be able to complete this part? So this is in terms of the importance of organizing. Right, so with that, the organizing key concepts I'll take up to next week. So if you're done with writing, you can leave from the call. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you on Wednesday with the key concept of organizing, and we'll try to complete the organizing part. Right. Thank you, guys.